To many, Saul was a proud and jealous man, the first king of Israel who was consumed by his insecurities and envy. But what if I told you that he was once humble, even timid, and deeply reverent towards God? Before the crown, before the madness, and before the jealousy, there was a different Saul, an uncertain young man from the tribe of Benjamin who hid among the supplies to avoid being anointed king. He was the man who trembled at the thought of leading Israel, who showed deep respect for the Lord and sought his guidance in all things. This side of Saul is often overshadowed by his later actions, but it is crucial to understanding his story fully. This is the true story behind King Saul. In this episode, we will reveal how he went from a humble and devout man to a tragic figure destroyed by pride. What led to Saul's transformation? Did he become corrupted by the great power he attained, or was it his inner insecurities that led to his downfall? Saul's story begins in the humble tribe of Benjamin. He was just a young man searching for his father's lost donkeys when he encountered the prophet Samuel. Samuel, acting on God's command, anointed Saul as the first king of Israel, pouring oil on his head and declaring, "Has not the Lord anointed you ruler over his inheritance?" Initially, Saul was hesitant and even fearful about his new role. When Samuel first spoke to him about becoming king, Saul responded, "But am I not a Benjamite from the smallest tribe of Israel? And is not my clan the least of all the clans of the tribe of Benjamin? Why do you say such a thing to me?" However, when the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, Saul was transformed into a leader. As 1 Samuel 10:6 recounts, "The Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them, and you will be changed into a different person." This divine empowerment gave Saul the confidence and capability to step into his role as king. Saul's first major challenge as king came from the Ammonites, who besieged the town of Jabesh-Gilead. Saul mustered the Israelite forces and led them to a decisive victory, solidifying his position as king. The people rejoiced, and Samuel reaffirmed Saul's kingship at Gilgal. However, Saul's reign soon encountered trouble. The Philistines, perennial enemies of Israel, gathered for war. Before the Philistines arrived, Samuel had instructed Saul to wait 7 days for him to return and offer sacrifices, and then provide further instructions on what to do next. At that time, the Philistines had not yet assembled, and it seemed the instruction was a precaution for an uncertain future. This lack of immediate threat may have caused their conversation to miss the urgency that would later arise. As the Philistine threat grew imminent, Saul found himself unprepared for the pressure. He had not established an emergency plan for what to do if Samuel did not arrive within the designated time. As the 7 days passed and the Philistines gathered in increasing numbers, Saul saw his troops beginning to scatter in fear. Overwhelmed by the mounting tension and without a backup plan, Saul's anxiety led him to take matters into his own hands. Unable to endure the pressure, Saul decided to offer the sacrifices himself, violating God's command. Just as he finished, Samuel arrived and rebuked him for his disobedience. Samuel said, "You have done a foolish thing. You have not kept the command the Lord your God gave you. If you had, he would have established your kingdom over Israel for all time. But now your kingdom will not endure. The Lord has sought out a man after his own heart and appointed him ruler of his people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." Perhaps pride and insecurity are two sides of the same sinful coin, and Saul seemed more willing to mask his insecurity with pride rather than relying on God to solve his problems. Even after facing Samuel's rebuke, Saul did not humble himself to reflect on his mistakes. Instead, he continued to carry out his duties with hidden pride. Despite this setback, Saul continued to lead Israel against its enemies. In one of his notable victories, Saul was instructed by God, through Samuel, to totally destroy the Amalekites, including all their people and livestock. However, Saul executed his own judgment instead. He spared King Ag and the best of the livestock, rationalizing that they could be sacrificed to God. This act of partial obedience angered God, and through Samuel, he pronounced that Saul had been rejected as king. The final straw for Saul came when he encountered David, the young shepherd who had slain Goliath. Initially, Saul welcomed David into his court and even made him a commander in his army. David's victories and popularity, however, stirred jealousy in Saul's heart. When the women of Israel sang, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his tens of thousands," Saul's insecurity completely twisted him. Instead of repenting after being rejected by God, Saul's fear of the prophecy's fulfillment intensified, and he became increasingly paranoid about losing his throne. Saul's jealousy drove him to madness. He attempted to kill David multiple times, hurling a spear at him and sending assassins to his home. David fled, becoming a fugitive and gathering a band of loyal followers. Despite having opportunities to kill Saul, David spared him, demonstrating his respect for God's anointed king. Saul's pursuit of David consumed him, and his kingdom began to crumble. In his desperation, Saul sought guidance for an upcoming battle against the Philistines. He first tried various means to seek God's counsel, including dreams, the Urim and Thummim, and consulting priests, but received no answer from God. The death of Samuel further compounded Saul's troubles, leaving him without his spiritual advisor. As the Philistines gathered for war once again, Saul was gripped by overwhelming fear. In his desperation, he resorted to consulting a medium to summon the spirit of Samuel. The summoned spirit foretold doom, predicting that Saul and his sons would die in the battle. The prophecy came true. In the Battle of Mount Gilboa, the Philistines overwhelmed the Israelites. Saul's sons, including Jonathan, were killed. Wounded and fearing capture, Saul fell on his sword, ending his reign in tragedy. His body was desecrated by the Philistines, but the men of Jabesh Gilead, remembering Saul's earlier rescue, retrieved and honorably buried his remains. Saul's fate is one of a promising start marred by disobedience, jealousy, and a tragic end. He was chosen by God, anointed to lead Israel, but his failure to fully obey God's commands and his inability to overcome his personal demons led to his downfall. Perhaps his legacy is a reminder: humbly submit and rely on God's guidance, not on your own wisdom. After Saul's tragic end, a new leader rose from the ashes of his reign: David, the shepherd boy who had once served in Saul's court. David, anointed by God and beloved by the people, brought a new era of unity and strength to Israel. His reign was marked by great military victories, the establishment of Jerusalem as the capital, and the bringing of the Ark of the Covenant to the city. David's faith and leadership brought Israel to its greatest heights, but his story, too, is filled with personal struggles and moral failure. Click on the video to discover the story of David, the shepherd boy who became a king. Learn about his triumphs, his trials, and how his faith shaped the destiny of Israel. David's journey is one of courage, devotion, and the search for redemption, a story that continues to inspire and teach us this day. Don't miss this biblical epic of David's life, a tale of a man after God's own heart. If this video has helped you in any way, then click that like button and check out some of our other videos that should be showing on the screen right now. Thank you.